Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And I hate to admit it, but I got duped. Yeah, I got fooled. I was fooled with the 007 Road to a Million Bond reality series. And yeah, I got suckered in. I got pulled in. The music, the locations, everything was beautifully shot. And I'm thinking, this is so cool. And yeah, by the end of the first episode, I was like, oh, it's a nice cliffhanger. And I was excited about continuing to watch the show. So we get into some like episode 2, episode 3. And I start to notice, well, they've picked up the pace a little bit. And they only slow things down when they get to the more difficult challenges. They also started to play a little bit more into like personal fears, like snakes, spiders, phobias, things like that. And it seems like it started to get a little less difficult, but then, well, that kind of it goes back and forth. But there are times where they're trying to make certain things seem really scary when they're really not. Um, and then it was during the second episode that I did finally start to notice, hey, nobody's even mentioned James Bond yet. There's been zero, absolute zero, no mention of James Bond. There's been no Bond like geeking out over anything. I mean, when faced with Goldfinger's Rolls Royce, no mention of it. I mean, it's mentioned. Yeah, this is a Rolls Royce Phantom, and um, it's obviously Goldfinger's car, and they've even had they showed footage of some um, Land Rovers or that were had bullet holes in it, and I'm thinking, okay, yeah, this is probably movie used vehicles. Nobody said anything about any. I mean, if I saw that Rolls Royce, I'd be like, hey, that's a Goldfinger's car. That's the first natural reaction, but nobody said anything. In fact, not a single team member yet has even said, "Hey, oh man, I love Bond movies. This is like a dream come true. I've always wanted to do Bond stunts like this." Nothing. So I started wondering, well, do they even know that this is a Bond themed show? Or do they just feel like this is just a money competition? So yeah, yeah, I got duped because I know Dutch Bond fan put out a video there, and he's absolutely right. This is not a Bond show. So anyway, so that's kind of like episode 2. I start getting into episode 3, um, and it starts out sounding like, oh, this is going to be really rough. Like they got 2 full days of tracking through this dense jungle to get to their next location. Um, but then when they follow them, they're walking on these big spacious trails. So I'm like, are they trying? I mean, are they trying to fool us here? I mean, um, they make things sound like it's going to be really hard, but then I mean, here they're walking along a trail. There's like one twig hanging out, and one of the guys just like hits it with a machete, and the other guy's like, "Oh, you're getting machete crazy now," and I'm like, well, he didn't even need to hit that thing with a machete. He's got this 10-foot wide trail he's walking on. Um, but then Drax, Drax. Now that's given as a clue, and I'm like, Drax. Oh yeah, from we know who Drax was. No mention. I mean, neither of them went drag. Oh yeah, that's a Bond villain. There's no mention of it. Um, and and when I say picking up the pace on some of this too, as well, they start fast tracking through the first couple levels. So the first episode, kind of a long build up through the first level, like really long build up. Um, and then as the episodes progress and we're introduced to more teams, they fast track those first couple levels. I mean, oh, you got to go over here, get the question. They show all that like in 10 seconds, and then they show them answer. You know, however, either pulling the smoke canister to see if they won, or just flipping the switch. And so yeah. Now at this point, I was actually starting to fight the urge. I wanted to reach forward and start fast forwarding to just get to the next challenge rather than watching their travel dialogue. Um, and that was I was like, oh, that's kind of alarming that I'm getting kind of bored and need to. But then they that was just kind of during one part. We get past it, and then it kind of gets a good pace again to it. Um, and then in episode 3 is the first time we hear any music outside of the Daniel Craig movies. We hear some music from a Brosnan movie. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful, good travel music. And they do provide a good vibe to discovery of the question boxes. So they just the hiding spots that they have. It is a satisfying feeling of how they find it. There's a little bit of a sneaky Bond feel to it. There's some tension because it is time scheduled. It's like the voice. He tells them how much time they've got, and sometimes it comes down to the wire. They don't have much time left, so they're like, well, you know what? We just gotta go with what our gut's telling us for the answer. Um, and then in episode 3, Rio. I mean, there's all this buildup, and then we go to Rio, and you hear Moonraker music. Now that was fun. That was fun. And then the cable cars, they're involved. But then I got to tell you, this was so obviously Moonraker, and the entire part where they're around these cable cars. And I will say this: it seemed like it was pretty difficult. They give them a really good challenge to get up to the cable cars. They had to scale the side of the mountain to get up there. I mean, they have all the gear and ropes and lines and everything, but still, for a couple of guys that are not in the best of shape, um, uh, they self-admit it. They're like, "Oh man, they're always out of breath." They always say, "Oh, I'm not used to all this exercise," and stuff. So I mean, they gave everything they had to get up those ropes, and a bunch of rests along the way. But this whole time around the cable cars, I'm thinking, okay, somebody's got to say, "Oh my goodness, this is where Roger Moore and Jaws did their thing." That nothing, no, nothing. Nobody mentions Bond at all, um, and it was absolutely the best question setting yet. And it ends in another cliffhanger. Goes into episode 4, has a great opener because of course it had a good cliffhanger, so it's got the good opener. And at this point, I mean, beginning of episode 4, we still have not met half the teams yet. That means they're going to be kind of fast tracking the rest of the teams through those first levels of questions to try to, I guess, catch them up. Um, I'm guessing maybe quite a few don't get past the first couple levels. Maybe that's why seems like we're following like one team more excessively than the others. I feel like it's telegraphing the winner, to be honest, already at this point, because we're really vested with one team, and other teams kind of are coming and going. So I don't know. I don't know if they got a little too much projection going on with the way they filmed it. But so yeah, that's right. I'm at the beginning of episode 4. I'm going to finish the series, but it is not a James Bond series. I mean, I don't think any of the contestants know at all that this was supposed to be Bond themed. They haven't mentioned it. Maybe a little bit later, someone's going to get a clue. They're going to be like, "Oh yeah, hey, the DB5, yeah, we're in Bond's car." I mean, they may finally make some kind of connection there, but none of these people seem like they're Bond fans. No one's mentioned Bond at all. I think it was turned into a Bond show. It's definitely like a Fear Factor mixed with Great Adventure, or The Amazing Race, and Fear Factor kind of combined. It's not hectic like all the contestants of Amazing Race. They're all like running and oh, we got to get to the plane, and then or we're first in line. No, we're like eighth. Things like that. It's not hectic like that. Everyone's getting to take their time until they start getting close to running out of time to answer a question. But other than that, it's relaxed paced kind of. But none of them seem to know that it's Bond related. I think it was all made Bond related in the editing room, and then that's where they added all the stuff and said, "Hey, let's make this a Bond competition." And none of the contestants seemed to realize it. I bet you when they walked out on the red carpet, or that maybe that was even the first time they realized that, oh, this was supposed to be Bond. No, I mean, I'm sure they were told ahead of time, but when they were filming, I really doubt they knew, at least for probably the first half of all of their trips. They probably don't even realize it. So, yeah, I mean, it's up to everybody if they want to watch the show. I'm going to continue watching it because now I'm invested. I'm about halfway through, so I want to kind of see who ultimately wins, even though I kind of feel like they're telling me already. But we'll see. Anyway, it is. I mean, it's the music's fun. The locations are fun. As a Bond fan, um, I mean, at least we can appreciate, even though the contestants, while they're there and they're doing it, maybe they don't quite appreciate the opportunity they're having. But as a Bond fan, oh my goodness, I'd be geeking out so bad at a number of these locations because I'd want to pull out a camera and get as many pictures as I possibly could. But anyway, all right. I guess we'll see you in the next video. This was just a quick update on how the show is going and what it is, what it isn't. All right, take care.